Greetings, YouTube! This is long ago. If you've watched this channel at all in the past, you probably know that I've got a little bit of a fetish for ancient ranged weapons and weapons in general. I mean, I got my bow staff here, bow and arrow, boomerang, I don't know if you can see it. We got crossbow, nunchucks, I got some spears here. Also got a couple swords. These are wooden swords, but I made both of these, as well as all the things you see behind me. Anyway, I decided I'm going to show you another video about an ancient ranged weapon, and, well, this is about the oldest one you can get. Remember how I said the boomerang is about 30,000-year-old technology? This is when it originally came out. The thing I want to show you today is about 400,000-year-old technology. It actually predates Homo sapiens. Our ancestors, Homo ergaster, were the ones who apparently invented this. And this thing is called the Atlatl, or spear thrower. This is probably what one of the first Atlatls looked like. I'll show you up close. See, basically, it's just a stick with a branch coming off of it, and the branch kind of projects out the end, comes to a point. And what that does is that point will stick into the end of a spear. You have a little notch at the back of the spear, and then you hold it kind of like this, and when you throw the spear, you kind of release it at the last second and use the Atlatl as a lever, which launches it a little further. It gives you some mechanical advantage. And from what I've read, these Atlatls, or spear throwers, will launch a spear at about 100 miles an hour. Now, being Homo sapien, I think we can do a little bit better than a stick. So I'm going to be building my Atlatl out of a piece of purple heart hardwood. And it's going to be all custom Homo sapien made rather than this primitive little piece of junk here. I'll also be making some darts, and towards the end of the video I'll be firing them, and yeah, it should be interesting. I'll try to see the difference in speed and distance as compared to throwing a spear and using the Atlatl to fire a spear. Alright, so come with me, you. Okay, so as I said, I'll be using a piece of purple heart to make this Atlatl. This is one of my favorite types of wood because it's extremely hard. Oak is nothing compared to this. It's very sturdy, it's rather heavy too. So, I'm going to make my handle at this end. So it'll be rather short in this dimension, but it'll be rounded. And it'll thin out as it gets to this end, so it'll be kind of thin and aerodynamic and lightweight at the tip. So I'll start that. Let's see. I'll draw my handle here. I'm gonna make that about half. Oh, this thing is about half a meter long, by the way. I'm just gonna try to make the handle a kind of a more or less square along its length. Let's see. I'll give it a little bit of a hilt, and okay, I'll freehand this part. So it's gonna kind of taper, get a little bit smaller as we get down here. Make that nice and straight. And because I want to be fancy, I'll give it a little bit of a detail at the end here. Round it up a little. I like being artistic. There, that's better. And now, I'm gonna do my notch right here. That's gonna hold the tip of the spear. And then I need a straight line from there to the handle, from here to here. More or less. Be kind of artistic. Oh, I'm gonna use my 4-man straight edge here to draw this final line. Okay, so that looks reasonable. Just try to get it reflecting the light so you can see. And that'll be the profile from the side of my Atlatl. Now I'll do another little drawing on the top, and that'll give me another dimension. And I'll cut out both these shapes on the bandsaw, and I'll get the three-dimensional shape out of that. Okay, so from the top, make it so you can see, I'm going to leave the width as it is for the handle, but from the little hilt I've drawn downwards, it's going to get progressively thinner. Kind of like that. There. Now I'll just pass both of these lines I've drawn here through the bandsaw, and that will give me my shape. So let's go do that. So now I'll begin my cutting. I guess I'll start with the side. Cut that shape out first. I'm going to end up having to redraw some of the lines I did here because they're going to get cut off, but that won't be hard to fix. Alrighty. First, I guess. That down. And now the back side. Looks good to me. myself a little bit of time. Rounding things off, I'll just set this to a 45. And I'll round off these edges a little bit. Filing work to do, and I'll be ready to shoot this puppy. Alrighty, so now we're going to make some darts for our Atlatl spear thrower. Okay, the darts will range from about 1.2 meters to 2.6 meters. To Americans, that's about 4 to 8 feet. And well, here's the materials you'll need. For the materials that I'm going to be using anyway. First thing you'll need is a dowel. Unfortunately, I couldn't find a dowel that was long enough, so I'm going to end up using this piece of aluminum tubing here that I got at the Home Depot. Now this little section of tubing is 1.3 meters or 4 feet. So that's within the specifications of the Atlatl dart. Secondly, I'll be using this bolt right here, and that just happens to fit nicely inside there, and this bolt is going to be my spear point. Another thing you'll need for the Atlatl dart is some feathers. So yeah, 3 little feathers here, and these are going to be your fletchings on the back side of the dart. To fasten the feathers on, I'll be using some upholstery thread. I use this because it's super duper strong. Right there. And I'll also be using some cyanoacrylate glue. This one is fortified with rubber for shock resistance. And well, these things are going to be undergoing a fair amount of stress when they smash into stuff, so yeah, it's a good idea to have something that's a little bit elastic. Oh, I should mention the tools you'll need. I'm using a file just to smooth things out, a reciprocating saw, and this is the basher thing. Okay, so what we're going to do, take some glue, put it on the inside, where are we, of this here. Just applying a liberal amount of glue, and once the glue's in there, take your bolt and you stick it in the hole. This is a nice tight fit, that's why I use this high-tech bashing device here. And I'm going to pound it in just past the threads. There you see, the bolt is now embedded inside. Oh, another thing I forgot. You'll need to use, or I like to use, is a nail set. And I'm going to go in just beyond where the screw stops and put a small divot there. This is a glass table, so I'm not going to be hammering on it. So I'll do this on my leg. If you can see, got my nail set, and I'll just give it a good pop. You don't need a lot of pressure. I'm going to do that in 3 places. So, and all that does is it makes tiny little indentations in the inside so that the bolt can't go deeper into the shaft. So that is going to be the point of our spear, but you'll notice the bolt is not very pointy. So the next step will be to take off that hexagon at the end tool I'll use for that. It's a good old reciprocating tool. There it is. And now that just has to be sharpened on a grinder and it will be ready to penetrate something. Alrighty then, so the next thing we've got to do is turn our handy dandy feathers we've got here into fletchings. So how I'm going to do that is you'll notice that one side of the feather has long spines, I guess you'd call it, and the other side has shorter spines. And we're going to cut this vein in the middle in half so that we're only going to have the longer side. So I will demonstrate how this is done with scissors. I'll cut it off about centimeter and a half from the end, and proceed to cut right down the middle of the feather. Takes a little bit of practice to get down. I find it's easier if you keep the scissors kind of wide open like this, as opposed, and you do your cutting right here as opposed to having it more closed and do your cutting here, because this tends to crush it more, whereas this shears it. Okay, that's good enough. Now once we've got this, we're just going to take a little bit of a trim off of the end here and cut off about 1.5 centimeters. And there we have our fletching. And we will glue this to the arrow. Or the dart, I should say. Alrighty, so I've got two more cut out. I got a nice black one here. I've got an orange one and another orange one. Nice two-tone color scheme. And to attach this, I have to go and get my glue. I'm just going to put a tiny dab of glue on the end of the feather. Don't need a great deal. Just to get things started. I'll stick that on my spear. And I'll just hold it there while it dries. Once that bit has dried up, then I'll apply glue to the center and the other end and just kind of tack it in place. Okay, the one side is now firmly attached to the chunk of metal here. So I'll put another dab right on there. Actually, I'm going to put some along the length. Right to the end. And carefully put that down, trying to keep it straight. Just gotta hold it for around 30 seconds or so. This stuff sets up pretty quickly, and you'll find that if you use too much of it, then your fingers will be stuck to the thing, and then that will kind of hurt. See, my fingers are in kind of a triangle. That's how big the opening of the knot is. I can stretch it. That's what makes it a slip knot, because it slips. Anyway, I'm going to take that and pass it over the fletchings I just made. And now I'm going to position it over top of the 3 fletchings. I'm going to pull on it and tighten up the slip knot, and it's now firmly secured right here. And from here I'll start wrapping these fletchings on, and that will secure it even further. Maybe I have to go the other way. this wrapping process takes a while, so I'll just show you the main points. Like right now, this kind of indicates to you why you cut this off at 1.5 centimeters before the feather, so because it gives you room to, hey, that works even better, to thread the thread onto the arrow. Okay, so as you can see here, I've now got this firmly wound with a heck of a lot of thread. It's a nice thick band, which is not going to come undone. This upholstery thread is really strong stuff. Now I'm going to go from this part and wind the thread down the fletchings, down along this length, until I can get to the other end. And this kind of explains why you cut this 1.5 centimeter little bit from the end of each tip of the fletching. It allows you to tie the string and make these tight windings, and that secures it perfectly. You're never going to need to replace these. So what I do is I have my thread here, I'm holding it in this hand, and I'm going to start winding it down the length of the fletchings, and every time I cross a feather I'm going to pass it through the windings of that feather. See, I just went through the orange feather there. Now I'm going to go through the black one. And I pinched a little bit of it here, so I'm going to try to unpin it. I'm going through the orange one again, or the other orange one, I should say. Now I'm going through this orange one. I'm going through the black one. You try to match the grain of the feathers when you're doing this. I guess that makes it the easiest. And now I'm at the opposite end, so I can start winding it tightly again. Okay, but now I've finished the wrapping on this thing, and what I'm going to do is just finish it off with a knot. I'll pass that over there, tighten it up, and she's done. Now here's the finished product. The fletching is got a band on this end of upholstery thread, and then it's wrapped around 3 times to get across the fletching, and at the other end it's bounded tightly again. Now just to reinforce this, I'm gonna apply a little varnish to this and to this, and that'll make it like a solid chunk of polyurethane, and that's never gonna come undone. Alrighty, so the last step here is going to be to file down this little point here, and I'll be using my trusty grinder. And I got a cup of water here just to keep the tip cool. So let's have at it. Get these spears finished. Now you'll see it's the tip of it is actually changing color. It's getting dark black because it's getting hot enough to be tempered, so it's actually very, very hard. done. Smoking. Now it just needs a little bit of a sanding and polish, and this bad boy's done. Okay, so here we are at the soccer field. I'm going to try firing off my newly made spears here, and as you can see, I've finished the Atlatl. Nice shiny finish. I didn't put any varnish on it yet, but there's the business end, the hook, and I've added a little leather handle here, and that was pretty easy to make. It's just 2 strips coming off of this larger square piece. I tucked them in and then wrapped it around, glued it with super glue, and yeah, I'm ready to have some fun. There are my spears, ranging from all the colors of the rainbow, just about red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and as close as I could get to violet, red and blue. And I'm going to be firing them off in the distance there. Basically towards the 2 towers you see directly in front of the camera. Just in case you want to marvel at my construction again. Here's the thick yet thin length of the Atlatl. Gets thicker towards the handle. Got my little hilt and leather handle. Alright. Yeah, that's where I'm going to be aiming. So just for demonstration purposes, we'll see how far we can get just throwing them by hand. So I shall fire these 3 by hand just to see and get a baseline of how far I can throw them. And then we'll use the Atlatl and see what that does. About 15 meters. With little control. Absolutely terrible. Now we'll test the Atlatl out and see what kind of range we get. So just hook it in there. We're ready to rock and roll. Oh, and the loops are for my thumb and index finger. I get a better grip on it. About twice as far. So I'll try to zoom in just so you can see where they landed. That red one is my marker. 2 of the ones I threw are lying on the ground there. The 3rd one is dead ahead at an angle. And my Atlatl shots went significantly farther. Okay, a couple more shots just for fun. Not too shabby. At least twice the distance that I can throw them. So I'm assuming that's about twice as fast too. What about, well, good 2/3 of the way across the soccer field anyway. My accuracy is much to be desired though, as you can see. Alrighty, now I'm going to do a couple shots from the side just to get a measure of how fast these things are going. Based on the video footage, I'll be able to calculate the speed. I'll fire 2 by hand and then 4 with the Atlatl, and that should give me a good baseline. have the Atlatl spear thrower in action. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please rate, subscribe, and comment. And if you'd like to see more videos like this, why don't you go visit this guy named Skal Nielsen. He's currently got a Conetst quite good. And if you sub to him, tell him Longbow sent you. There's a chance that I could possibly win a book on ancient weapons, dating from the Neolithic to modern day. And it's a pretty cool guy. Kind of hard to describe, kind of a eclectic personality. I'd describe him as like a sword-wielding, gun-toting, steampunk artist, animator type guy. He's definitely, he makes some interesting videos, he's worth checking out. So, anyways, thanks for watching. Peace!